Chapter 355. Marty had not shed a single tear until she finished her story. A person so resolute to decide to leave her hometown for the Empire and so steadfast to find a new life even after her younger brother's death, it was possible for her to regain her composure so quickly. Yudir wanted to ask her more details about Nahan and the awakeners around him, but decided to leave that part for later, entrusting it to Lusan or others. Yudir organized the newly discovered information as he left the room. The first impressions when they found those who had lost their memories and the story that Marty told were not much different. They were victims of a civil strife that took place within the Star of Nagran. The appearance of those who would have died quickly or would have been killed if not saved by the cavalry made them guess the blind hatred harbored by Nahan and his followers. If they had followed a similar path in my previous life, there would be no doubt that they perished in the civil strife. Nahan's power was strong. His goal to unconditionally protect the same awakeners was clear. It was not difficult to imagine how reassuring he must have felt to the awakeners who harbored hatred and fear for the non-awakeners. Since they even got rid of the non-awakeners who knew the internal information and took the power from the group that had courted the non-awakeners, it must have been quite a rewarding result for them. Wielding power was so easy and convenient. However, they could not achieve everything with power alone. The outcome of their previous life, and Yudir himself, who had proven it with his life, were living witnesses to that. Yudir? Kishir called him from not far away. His coldly moving mind momentarily melted weakly like ice exposed to sunlight. Yudir stopped thinking and looked at the smiling face of the man who waved his hand lightly. I heard you were suddenly called by Priest Lusan. What happened? One of the people under the priest's care regained consciousness today, so I visited. Really? How much did they remember about the situation before and after? She remembered most of it. The circumstances were not much different from what we suspected. I decided to ask the details after she recovered a bit more and came out first. Kishir was silent for a while after hearing Marty's story. Nahan has cunningly used his means. He is quite skilled at fueling people's hatred. I think so too. I wonder where that madness comes from at this point, don't you? Yes. Yudir had never been curious about Nahan's circumstances, so he kept his mouth shut for a moment. Even knowing that Kishir's interest in Nahan was pure curiosity unrelated to his illusion ability, a sudden cold sensation lingered around his heart. There is no need to be curious about such a person. He will not last long and will destroy himself. That's quite a prophetic statement. You didn't awaken a prophecy ability, did you? ... I'm kidding, but when my assistant says something like that, it doesn't feel like just words. Kishir, who couldn't think of Yudir as someone who had truly seen the end, spoke in a light tone, making a chilling sound. I don't think I can achieve what they want in that way either, but knowing the cause may allow us to find ways to prevent innocent victims more quickly, or perhaps give me a warning not to become such a monster, right? The words that one could gain caution so as not to become a monster like Nahan somehow lingered in Yudir's heart. Why would you say that, Commander? No matter what you do, you will not become like that. Thank you for saying so. Kishir's face momentarily looked surprised as he answered, but he soon smiled with genuine warmth. But not forgetting to be cautious is also for the path I want to tread. If I'm always off my guard, I might easily fall into self-centered thinking. Humans are such beings. I'm no exception. Kishir defined himself as such a human without the slightest shame. Yudir, hearing his words, suddenly wondered how he had been. Had he ever been conscious of his weaknesses and strived not to forget the possibility of making a mistake? Had he ever possessed caution that a monster caught in hatred and madness could become him? I never have. Even if he made an effort from now on, it wouldn't work. He was born such a human. It was truly fortunate that not him, but Kishir was the commander of the cavalry. Yudhir recalled how wise his decision to not take the deputy commander position in this life was and felt relieved. You don't need to worry, Commander. You will never commit such a folly. My assistant thinks too highly of me. If it's burdensome, I will stop speaking. Why would it be? Kishir pulled him close by the waist and affectionately leaned his head on him. Just then, the servants of Baron Wilhelm, passing through a nearby corridor, were visibly shocked, covering their eyes and dodging out of the way. The red eyes followed their retreating forms, smiling sweetly. I told you, I like being depended on. Are you here, Nahan? The door burst open and several people entered. Nahan, who had been reading the piled documents on the table, calmly looked up, unfazed by the rough entry. What's the matter, brothers? Damn it, stop with that brother talk. Why are we your brothers? What do you want with Nahan? If you have come to pick a fight, get lost. The ones sitting beside Nahan furrowed their brows and stood up, lightly assuming a defensive stance. Between Nahan's associates and the others, a sharp and tense atmosphere instantly filled the air. All of Tennu is in turmoil because of what you have done. Even our fellow Awakeners who aren't culprits can't go outside because of the rumors that Awakeners are the culprit. Don't you care? The Awakener shouting about how long this would continue was met with a sneer from Nahan's side. Is this all Nahan's fault now? It's probably because of the non-Awakeners who leaked our existence and the rotten Tain Duke. You haven't even clearly shown proof that the non-Awakeners leaked our existence. You have gone mad. Why are you doing this? Because, unlike you cowards, we have the power to avenge our brothers and sisters. The atmosphere suddenly became even more frigid. One of the Nahan's Awakener associates growled harshly, trying to calm his breath, then finally couldn't bear it and burst out again. You, who snuck into the security management team on the time when we were digging into the Tain Duke's secret, are no different from us. If you can't help with important matters, at least stop holding us back. The faces of the moderate Awakeners went pale. We went to find those who were driven out. We are different from you. So, did you find them? Nahan, who had been quietly watching the fight between the two factions until now, finally spoke. Though he uttered his words slowly, everyone fell silent in an instant. Even the moderate faction Awakeners, who were suppressing their anger, couldn't help but cower. There was a fearsome presence about him that forced them to do so. Whether it was because of the terrifying scar on his face, brazenly displayed, or because of his strange calmness that never allowed him to lose his temper with his Awakener comrades, no one knew. But they did sometimes feel a terrifying sensation from him whenever he moved. We couldn't find them. One of the moderate faction Awakeners stammered a forced reply. Trembling lips betrayed his fear. Nahan sighed silently. He put down the document he had been holding and rose from his seat. As he did, his overcoat draped over his shoulders fell, revealing a recently treated wound on his shoulder to everyone present. It was an injury Nahan had sustained just before leaving the Great Serene Forest, inflicted by the cavalry. The wound had been so deep that had there not been someone with a meager ability to staunch the blood, there were talks that his arm might have had to be amputated. That's why, even though it had healed to some extent, he still had difficulty moving that arm. However, this did not affect Nahan's abilities. Brothers, if you went that far using us as bait, you should have at least found some trace. Are you mocking us now? I am always sincere.